On-chain analyst Willy Woo shared 3 Bitcoin price predictions just recently on X in a new post, and one of them shows a scenario of Bitcoin reaching $11.5 million per coin. So let's break this baby down, and massive shout out to Willy Woo. The headline reads, crypto analyst Willy Woo shared 3 Bitcoin price scenarios to reach $11.5 million per coin. Let's just get right into it. Here's the tweet that he shared. I retweeted it this morning, and here's the tweet from December 23rd, quoting Willy Woo. A private banker asked me for some Bitcoin price scenarios. Here on the back of the envelope, the calculations using 2023 numbers. Bitcoin matches the gold market cap of $710,000 per coin. Number 2, 5% of the wealth is parked into Bitcoin, which would take us to $1.1 million per coin. And now for the most bullish scenario, the upper bound price, $11.5 million, meaning half of the wealth is BTC. And he continues, 5% of all wealth being parked into Bitcoin is not that far away. There are only 600 million adults holding $100,000 plus net worth. They have 85% of all the wealth. Bitcoin has 300 million plus investors today, continuing to grow exponentially. And he shares here a post he made back on October 26th of last year. Here is the time taken to grow Bitcoin's user base by a factor of 10. We are in the 9th iteration, going from 100 million to 1 billion users. The 10th iteration will be last, 100% global adoption, and it shows you the user growth and the time it has taken. Clearly from 1 to 10, it only took 8 days back in 2009 after the Genesis block. From 10 to 100 took 8 days. From 100 to 1,000 took 5.5 months. Wow. From 1,000 to 10,000 took a year. From 10,000 to 100,000 took a year. From 100,000 to a mil back in 2013 took 2.5 years. From 1 mil to 10 mil took 3.5 years. And from 10 mil to 100 mil took 3 years in 2020. And he's ultimately predicting we can go from 100 million active users to 1 billion, potentially by the year 2025. What are your thoughts on that sentiment? Let me know in the comments right down below. And let's continue with this thread. Let's see if you got more in here. I'm going to click on that. So yeah, I mean, this can happen quite quickly. And he does mention here to clarify in that initial post, user equals unique active user. Active means holding Bitcoin, accessing the economic properties of Bitcoin. Data is via a mix of forensic on-chain analysis, clustering addresses into entities, and unique ID verified accounts at the exchanges via the CCAF with the survey-based deduping. So there you have it, coming directly from Willy Woo. And before I dive deeper into the particular story, I want to share what's the latest from his timeline as well. In November, he wrote, we'll probably never see Bitcoin go below 30,000 again. And he was right, because we didn't go back below 30,000. If this on-chain pattern holds true, what you see here is Bitcoin's price discovery across 13 years. It is a counter map in Bitcoin supply according to the price hodlers paid for their coins and how it changed over time. Dense horizon bands. These are the price regions where much of the supply moved between investors reflecting the strong agreed value. Pattern, whenever Bitcoin had strong bands and agreed price coming out of the bear market and leading into the next halving, the price never comes back to retest this band of support. And some context. Why up only? Bitcoin is far from a commodity market at saturation. What we're seeing across the 13 years of this chart is Bitcoin's widespread adoption. The network had 10,000 users in 2010. Today, there is well over 300 million people using it as a store of value technology. This is only going to continue to climb with the spot Bitcoin ETF. And then Ched's chimed in, another analyst, 80% chance of sub 30,000 next 6 months, by the way. And Willy Woo responded, well, anything can happen in markets. It's all probabilities. Saying that probably never below 30,000 is an eye-raising thesis. And again, the normal odds for a volatile market, hence why I posted it. So there you go. Let me know if you agree or disagree with that sentiment from Willy Woo, and do you believe we'll never drop back below 30 G's ever again? Now, 10 hours ago, he shared one of my favorite on-chain indicators is the increase or decrease in the realized cap, which measures the capital being stored by the Bitcoin network. We're in the region where the money is being poured into the network at an increasing rate. And check out this Bitcoin network flows going wild. You gotta love it. And here for some more recent tweets that he shared. Let's check it out. Here he wrote December 24th on Christmas Eve. It is the eve before the spot Bitcoin ETF. The day is coming fast when Bitcoin becomes a mainstream bucket for wealth allocation. When that day comes, the top 1%, mostly wealthy, will hold 0.87 BTC. That's how little of it there is to go around, assuming 5% allocation. And he makes a good point. Like I said, there is very limited amount of Bitcoin currently available. And on the 23rd is where he initially shared this tweet. 5% of all the wealth being parked into Bitcoin is not that far away. There's only 600 million adults holding 100,000 plus net worth, and they have 85% of the wealth. Bitcoin has 300 plus million investors and continuing to grow exponentially. Preach. And as I shared earlier, we shared the 11.5 million scenario, which is his upper bound price range. Let me know if you agree or disagree on a bullish scenario, if we can see that price action. And if so, by what year? Let me know your honest thoughts. And out of the three, which scenario do you think is the most likely? The 710,000, the 1.1 million, or the 11.5 million, which would virtually mean all of the above? Let me know in the comments right down below. And now let's dive deeper into the story here. So Willy Woo, the famous on-chain analyst, recently shared his predictions for Bitcoin's potential price levels in various scenarios. And according to the analyst, these predictions were made in response to a question from a private banker looking for the potential Bitcoin price scenarios. Woo reveals the possible outcomes with his calculations based on 2023 figures. As I already mentioned, it could be anywhere from 710,000 per coin if we reach the market value of gold. And I think the gold market cap is roughly 10 trillion, in that ballpark. Correct me if I'm wrong, fam. And if we conquered 5% of all the assets invested into Bitcoin, we're going to be above 1.1 million. And if half the wealth in the world, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe it's north of 700 trillion, the total addressable market, that would send us to 11.5 million per BTC. Now that would be, in my opinion, even conservative. I've heard Michael Saylor make predictions that we can reach literally $100 million per coin, which is his most bullish prediction I've ever shared and covered here on the show. And that would mean Bitcoin tapping into 40% of the overall wealth in the world, referring to the total addressable market. So Woo believes that's a scenario of a 5% of all the wealth being transferred into Bitcoin is not a far-fetched possibility. He points out there are only 600 million adults worldwide with a net worth of 100,000, and these individuals own 85% of all the wealth. And according to Willy Woo, Bitcoin currently has more than 300 million investors and is growing exponentially, indicating a shift towards digital assets. Now, in the earlier analysis, Woo said Bitcoin investors are currently expecting higher prices and are reluctant to sell. That's right. Woo referenced the spent output profit ratio, which is the SOPR, which tracks the profit coins and when sold to new investors. Now, interestingly, the SOPR rose as the price fell, indicating that only investors who have made significant profits were selling while the newer investors were waiting. So there you have it, my crypto fam. Let me know your thoughts on his bullish prediction of seeing the upper bound price of $11.5 million per coin. And by what year do you feel this can turn into fruition? Let me know in the comments right down below.